"Get out of here, African. This is no place for beggars." The guard spat on the ground, the saliva mixing with the red dirt and splashing onto the feet of the simply dressed man. Ibrahim Traoré didn't step back. He didn't wipe himself. When droplets of spit hit him, he remained still, his eyes fixed, calculating every second of the humiliation. The construction site buzzed with activity. Machines roared. French flags fluttered above the African ones on the large golden sign, Franco-Burkinabe International School. Local children watched from the other side of the fence, eyes wide, witnessing everything. "Are you deaf?" The guard grabbed Ibrahim's arm, his fingers clamping down like iron claws. "People like you are only good for carrying bags of cement." A cell phone slipped from Ibrahim's pocket. The guard kicked it away into the dust. "Stolen, no doubt," he sneered, stomping on the device. "Go back to your hut before I call for backup." Ibrahim slowly crouched down and picked up the broken phone. His movements were controlled, precise like a predator studying its prey. When he stood up, there was something in his gaze that made the guard hesitate for a moment. "I'm from Ouagadougou," Ibrahim said, his voice low like distant thunder. "And you've just made a mistake you'll remember for the rest of your life." The guard raised his radio to call for backup when the roar of an engine sliced through the air. An armored SUV sped down the dirt road, kicking up clouds of red. "Dust?" The guard grinned. "Perfect. Someone's here who'll love watching me throw you into the gutter." Suddenly, a black armored SUV appeared and ran over a chicken at the entrance to the construction site. No one stopped. Children screamed. The animal flailed in the red dust as the driver honked at the workers to get out of the way. "Animals, get out of the way!" he shouted in French through the open window. Louis Charpentier emerged from the vehicle like a king, dressed in a spotless white suit, Italian shoes gleaming under the African sun. He spit out his gum onto the ground and crushed it under his polished heel. "This hellish heat is killing me," he complained, ripping off his sunglasses. "Where's my water, now?" A Burkinabe assistant stumbled forward with an imported bottle. Louis opened it, took a sip and poured the rest over his head, letting the water run down his face and suit as the assistant stood silently with his head lowered. Local families, less than 10 meters away, carried empty buckets back from the E. "Dry well, sir, that man is still here," the security guard whispered, pointing at Ibrahim. Louis fixed his icy blue eyes on Ibrahim, who stood still by the gate. He sneered and shouted for everyone to hear. "Look at that. A poor man who thinks he's somebody. France doesn't need to waste money on ungrateful people." Ibrahim didn't respond to the provocation. Instead, he stepped forward, bypassed the E guard, and walked straight into the construction site. Louis paled with rage. Ibrahim moved through the site as if he knew it perfectly. Burkinabe workers stopped what they were doing. Tools froze in the air. A heavy silence fell over the site, broken only by the noise of the machines. A huge crack, disguised by a thin layer of fresh cement, ran across the main wall like a poorly healed scar. Ibrahim touched it lightly, and chunks of concrete crumbled under his fingers. "Is this supposed to be a school or a death trap?" he asked loudly enough for everyone to hear. A local technician approached, eyes down, voice trembling. "Sir, please, I can't talk to you. They will—" The man swallowed the rest of his sentence as he saw Louis approaching, flanked by security guards. He quickly stepped back, blending in with other workers who pretended to be suddenly busy. Louis stopped 2 meters from Ibrahim, his red face contrasting with his white suit. "Who the hell do you think you are?" he hissed, trying to maintain composure in front of the workers. "This is a private operation, French property on African soil." Ibrahim pointed at the crack in the wall. "Third-rate cement, impure sand, compromised. Structure." His calm voice resonated through the site. "This will collapse with the first heavy rain." Louis laughed, a fake sound that didn't reach his eyes. "An engineer now, graduated where? The University of the Jungle?" One of the French engineers approached, nervously whispering in Louis' ear. The businessman's smile faltered for a second. "Get him out of here right now," he ordered, turning toward the temporary office. "And find out who this intruder is before I fire all of you." From the balcony of the temporary office, Louis watched the guards surrounding Ibrahim. His phone rang insistently. "Alors, monsieur. Ouagadougou, we have a problem." He spoke quickly in French. "Someone's asking questions about the quality of the materials." On the other end of the line, the Burkinabe Minister of Education, bought off with a generous donation, assured him that nothing would be investigated. Louis hung up with a satisfied smile, turning his attention back to the yard. Ibrahim was now surrounded by 3 muscular guards, but instead of backing down, he was methodically pointing to different parts of the construction. Improper foundation, exposed rebar, watered-down concrete. His voice carried all the way to the balcony. "You're not building a school. You're building a trap for our children." Workers discreetly paused to listen. Some nodded silently. A French supervisor shouted at them to get back to work. Louis descended the stairs in controlled fury. "You're accusing a renowned European company of fraud, you savage," he asked, getting close to Ibrahim. "Do you know who I am? I have ministers in my pocket." Ibrahim remained unmoved. "I know exactly who you are, Louis Charpentier, and I know exactly what you're doing with the money meant for this school." Louis' face froze. How did this man know his name? Who was he really? "Guards!" he yelled, completely losing his composure. "Throw this vermin off my sight now!" The 3 men advanced, but before they could touch Ibrahim, a female voice cut through the air. "Stop, don't lay a hand on him." A young woman in a colorful dress and with a defiant posture crossed through the gate. It was Awa Touré, a teacher at the local school. Behind her, dozens of villagers gathered, their eyes fixed on the scene. "What are these people doing here?" Louis shouted at the gate guard. "This is a private site." "This land will never be private," Awa replied, approaching Ibrahim. "This school is funded with public money, for our children." The villagers stepped forward, forming a semicircle. Women carried babies on their backs. Men held work tools. Children peeked out from between the adults' legs. Ibrahim and Awa exchanged a brief glance, heavy with mutual recognition. "We came to see the promised school," Awa continued, now addressing the crowd of frozen workers. "But this is what we found." She pointed to the crack in the wall, the exposed rebar, and the concrete that crumbled at the touch. "Is this what you think our children deserve?" A murmur rippled through the crowd. Louis stepped back, his face a mask of restrained fury. Awa suddenly turned to Ibrahim, her eyes widening with a sudden realization. "Wait, I recognize you. It can't be." Before she could finish, the head security guard grabbed her arm roughly. "That's enough of this nonsense. All of you, out now." Ibrahim stepped forward, his low voice cutting through the air like a blade. "Let her go. Immediately." Meanwhile, in the elevated office overlooking the site, Moussa Zongo watched everything, his heart racing. The Burkinabe engineer, educated in France, was sweating nervously, torn between 2 worlds. His desk was covered with 2 piles of documents. On the left, the school's original specifications, quality materials, modern systems, dignified spaces. On the right, the altered version with cuts to every item, inferior materials, multiplied profits. His phone vibrated. A message from his brother. "Is it true the president is at the site? Everyone in the village is talking about it." Moussa gasped, looking again at the simple man below, now surrounded by security. Could it be? The man Louis and the French treated like trash. Could he be Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso? He grabbed the binoculars from his drawer and focused on the man's face. Cold blood ran through his veins. It was him, without a doubt. Down at the site, Louis was shouting, "Attention all security. Use whatever force necessary to clear my site. I want all these intruders out in 5 minutes." Meanwhile, Moussa looked at the documents on his desk, at the red folder containing all the evidence of the fraud. His hand trembled. His entire career, his future, depended on Louis and the French construction company. But his country? Moussa didn't know what to do. "Last chance," growled the head guard, tightening his grip on the baton. "Leave quietly or be carried out." Louis watched, a thin smile on his lips. French engineers whispered nervously beside him. "Don't worry," Louis whispered. "These people only understand force. By tomorrow no one will remember this." Awa stepped in front of Ibrahim. "You will not touch him." The guard laughed. "Brave little poor girl. Let's teach both of you a lesson." He lunged forward, baton raised. Awa did not back down. The baton swung down in a violent arc. A firm hand stopped it in mid-air. Ibrahim grabbed the baton with surprising strength, his eyes fixed on the guard. "You just assaulted a citizen of Burkina Faso," he said, his voice calm but heavy with authority. "That's already a serious crime." The guard tried to pull the baton back, but Ibrahim didn't let go. Tension rose. 2 more guards moved. "And arrest this bum," Louis shouted from the balcony. "We'll deal with the rebel teacher afterward." The first guard tried to grab Ibrahim from behind. With a fluid movement, Ibrahim dodged, keeping his eyes on Louis. "This will not end the way you imagine," Ibrahim said, still without raising his voice. "What is this lunatic talking about? Get him out of here now." That's when Ibrahim's broken phone rang. The sound echoed in the sudden silence that had fallen over the site. Ibrahim answered calmly, "Yes, Major. I'm fine, but I think we'll need that escort now." Minutes later, the roar of engines shattered the silence like thunder in a clear sky. 3 military vehicles appeared on the road, kicking up clouds of red dust. They braked in perfect sequence at the entrance to the site. The doors opened simultaneously. Soldiers in immaculate uniforms jumped out, forming 2 precise lines. Rifles crossed over their chests, boots striking the ground in unison. A tall officer, medals gleaming on his chest, stepped out of the last vehicle. He walked slowly between the rows of soldiers, eyes fixed on Ibrahim. "President Traoré, are you all right?" The world seemed to freeze. The security guard stepped back as if shocked by electricity. Workers' eyes widened. Children pointed, mouths agape. Louis Charpentier staggered backward, his face drained of all color. His champagne glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the ground. "President?" he stammered, his voice barely audible. Ibrahim Traoré straightened slightly, brushing dust from his sleeves. Nothing else in his appearance changed, but his presence was now unmistakable, undeniable, overwhelming. "Major," he replied with a slight nod, "you arrived just in time. We were about to conduct a detailed inspection of this site." The officer turned to the soldiers. "Secure the perimeter. No one enters or leaves without direct authorization." Louis tried to back away discreetly toward the office. 2 soldiers blocked his path, their rifles pointed toward the ground but unmistakably ready. In the office, Musa clutched the folder to his chest, making his decision. He ran for the stairs. Ibrahim walked slowly across the site, now cloaked in sepulchral silence. Where there had once been contempt and arrogance, there was now only shock and fear. The president stopped in front of the cracked wall, examining it carefully. "This school," he said, his calm voice reaching every corner of the site, "was funded with the money of the people of Burkina Faso, money that could have bought medicine, food, weapons to defend our borders." He took a few more steps, touching an unfinished pillar. "We chose to invest in the future, in children, in education." He turned, locking eyes with Louis. "And you chose to steal that future." Louis tried to maintain a dignified posture, adjusting his tie with trembling fingers. "President Traoré, there must be some misunderstanding. We are a respectable company with decades of—" Silence. The word, spoken without raising his voice, sliced through the air like a blade. Louis fell silent mid-sentence. "I did not come here today as president," Ibrahim continued. "I came as a citizen, to see with my own eyes how you treat our country when you think no one important is watching." Musa appeared, running down the office stairs, the red folder in his hands. "President," he called, breathless, "I have everything here, all the documents, all the evidence." Ibrahim accepted the folder without surprise, simply nodding in silence. He opened it, quickly reviewing some of the papers, the original blueprints, the real budgets, the fake invoices. He raised his eyes to Louis. "Evidence enough for decades in prison." Louis turned even paler. "This is absurd. A conspiracy. I'll call the French embassy right now and—" "Go ahead," Ibrahim interrupted. "Tell them you tried to deceive not just one man, but an entire country." He turned to the crowd now gathering, their initial fear replaced by growing indignation. "Today you did not try to deceive one man. You tried to deceive the children of our future." The sun was beginning its descent on the horizon when the handcuffs closed around Louis Charpentier's wrists. The metallic click echoed across the site like a final sentence. Beside him, 3 French engineers and 2 corrupt Burkinabe employees awaited the same fate. "This is an international outrage," Louis protested as a soldier led him to the military vehicle. "France will not tolerate this." Ibrahim watched silently, the red folder open in his hands. Each page revealed another aspect of the fraud. Overpriced materials, inferior quality, money diverted to accounts in the Cayman Islands. Musa approached, head bowed. "Mr. President, I was involved too. I signed the false documents. I should be arrested with them." Ibrahim studied the young engineer for a long moment. "Why did you decide to speak out now?" "Because—" Musa hesitated, tears in his eyes. "Because I remembered that this school would be for my nephews too. And because a leader who comes alone without notice to see the truth deserves to hear the truth." Ibrahim closed the folder. Your punishment will be different, Engineer Zongo. You will rebuild this school, exactly as it should have been from the start. Louis, already inside the military vehicle, shouted through the window. You can't do this. I have powerful friends. Minister Ouedraogo is being detained. As we speak, the major interrupted, checking his phone, as well as 3 other government officials involved in the scheme. The crowd erupted in applause. Workers raised their helmets and tools. Children jumped and cheered. Ibrahim walked to the cracked wall, placing his palm against the rough surface. Pieces of concrete crumbled beneath his fingers. We'll start over, from scratch. The next dawn brought a transformed construction site. The French contractor's sign lay on the ground. In its place was a new sign that read, School, to of the people of Burkina Faso, built by Burkinabe hands for Burkinabe minds. Government trucks unloaded quality materials. Local engineers, led by Musa, restored the original project. Workers, now equipped properly, worked under new supervision. Ibrahim, in official attire, met with Awa and community leaders under the shade of a mango tree. The school will be ready in 6 months, Musa said. It will have natural ventilation, solar panels and rainwater harvesting. The library will have twice as many books, in French, English and local languages. Meanwhile, at the center of the site, the sound of hammers promised a new beginning. The old sign crashed into the dumpster with a loud bang as closing a chapter. 6 months later, the rising sun shone on the school's inauguration day. The courtyard buzzed with songs and smiles. Children ran beneath native trees, proud of their new school. Ibrahim stepped onto the stage without an escort, greeted by applause. This school is more than walls. It is proof that our people can build a future with their own hands, he said, his voice filled with emotion. They stole our gold, our peace, our dreams, but they could not steal our courage. He pointed to the children. Our future walks in those small feet, and now they have a place to run free. The choir sang the national anthem. Ibrahim smiled. Hope at last had a home. If this story touched you, if you believe that dignity, courage and justice still matter in this world, subscribe to the channel now. Turn on notifications and share this with someone who needs to remember that silence can also be a form of resistance.